Some people carry scars you can see, others carry scars so quiet, even the world forgets they exist. They laugh, they work, they show up every single day. And yet, they are living with a secret that nobody knows. This is the story of one of them. His name was Daniel Hale. To the world, Daniel was completely ordinary. 34 years old, an accountant by profession, he was that friendly neighbor, that reliable friend. The kind of man who never caused any trouble. He smiled at strangers, held doors open for people, and always paid his bills on time. If you asked anyone about Daniel, they'd all say the same thing. Oh, he's such a good guy. And that, right there, was the problem. Because nobody ever stopped to ask how a good guy learned to be so quiet, so accommodating, so invisible. The secret didn't start in his adulthood. It began when Daniel was just 12 years old. That night was supposed to be completely normal. Dinner, then homework, then sleep. But something happened that night, something that shattered his life into two distinct parts. Before, when he believed the world was a safe place. And after, when silence became his only means of survival. Daniel never screamed, he never ran, and he never, ever told. Because fear doesn't always make a sound. Sometimes, it just teaches you how to disappear. They say children forget pain. That's a lie. Children remember everything. They just don't have the words to explain the horror. Daniel learned very early on that speaking up came with consequences. That telling the truth could destroy the very family he depended on. That staying silent was the only way to keep things normal. So, he made a promise to himself, a vow he would carry for decades, if I don't talk about it. It didn't happen, and that promise followed him like a shadow right into his adult life. Years passed. Daniel built a life that looked incredibly stable from the outside. He had a decent job, a nice apartment, but inside, his mind was a battlefield, constantly replaying moments he never asked for. Memories would ambush him, triggered by the most random things: a certain smell, the tone of someone's voice, a familiar place. He struggled with sleep, finding rest almost impossible. He struggled with intimacy, building walls around his heart. He struggled with trust, questioning everyone's motives. He learned to avoid looking in mirrors for too long, to avoid conversations that went too deep. Because secrets don't just hide, they leak. They seep into your relationships, your confidence, and your entire sense of self-worth. But Daniel became an absolute expert at pretending he was fine. And then came Emily. She had a laugh that was easy and genuine. She listened with an intensity that made you feel truly heard. And she noticed the little things that everyone else missed. She noticed how Daniel would flinch at a sudden touch. She saw how his smile would fade the moment conversations turned emotional. She realized he never, ever spoke about his childhood. But she didn't push. She just waited, because real love doesn't force doors open. It just knocks gently and hopes you feel safe enough to answer. One night, after a small, quiet argument, it wasn't loud or dramatic, just a feeling of quiet disappointment hanging in the air. Daniel finally snapped. Not at Emily, at himself. He locked himself in the bathroom, his hands shaking uncontrollably, his chest so tight he could barely breathe. For the first time in years, the memories weren't just whispers. They were screaming. The secret was tired of being carried alone. Emily sat on the other side of the door, on the bed, waiting. Finally, Daniel emerged and stood in the doorway, the words caught in his throat. The truth is heavy. Once you finally drop it, you can't ever pick it back up and pretend it isn't there. He spoke anyway, not all at once. It came out in broken sentences, punctuated by long, agonizing pauses. Tears he hadn't planned to shed streamed down his face, and when he finally finished, when the whole ugly story was out in the open, he braced himself. He waited for disgust, for pity. He waited for her to get up and leave. Emily didn't speak right away. She just moved closer, sat right beside him on the floor. And then she said the 4 words that would change everything. I believe you. There was no judgment in her voice, no shock, no invasive questions designed to satisfy morbid curiosity, just pure, simple belief. For the first time in over 20 years, Daniel wasn't alone with his secret. You see, secrets don't make you strong. Surviving them does, but surviving all alone, that slowly kills vital parts of you. Daniel learned that healing doesn't begin with forgetting. It begins with being seen, with being heard. It begins with the profound realization that the secret never defined who he was. It only explained the silence he had lived in for so long. Months later, Daniel did something he never, ever thought he would have the courage to do. He went to the authorities and reported the truth. He didn't do it for revenge. He didn't even do it for closure. He did it for the little boy he used to be, the one who had to stay silent just to survive. Justice wasn't loud. It wasn't a dramatic scene from a movie, but it was real. Daniel still has hard days. Of course he does. Healing isn't a straight line. Some scars don't ever fully disappear. But now he doesn't hide anymore. He speaks his truth. He sets firm boundaries. He remembers to breathe, and sometimes he smiles. Not because he's pretending to be happy, but because he's finally truly free. If you are out there living with a secret that nobody knows, please hear this. You are not weak. You are not broken, and you are not alone. Silence may have been the shield that protected you once, but your healing begins the moment someone hears your truth. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is closer than you think.